We got Chris Burgos from NewTek. Chris, where are you at, Chris? Everybody's waiting for this TriCaster demo. Do we have Chris? Oh, I see him. I see him. I don't hear you, Chris. Chris, I don't hear you. I think you might. Not sure, but I do see you. No, I don't. I see you. I see you talking.
Now, can you hear me?
I hear you. Yep, I hear you. Awesome. Chris, take
Yes,
it
sir.
away.
Hey guys, we're going into our discussion on TriCaster 2, the sort of better than broadcast system. And I have a couple pieces of media I'm going to share with you guys, and then I'm going to walk you through a little live tutorial of what's going on within our system. So I'm going to do a screen share. And I have a PowerPoint ready. I really wanted to cover the basics of what we do with Live Call Connect and the TriCaster. So if you give me a moment here. Great. So we really wanted to highlight how simple it is to use Live Call Connect and why this is sort of the best streaming gear that you can use and sort of how it works. And so I really wanted to go through and discuss what Live Call Connect is. And if you're familiar with TriCaster 2 Elite and TriCaster 1 Pro, you'll know that Live Call Connect is a feature on those systems. We're going to refer to it as LCC for now. And it just really allows you to enhance the quality of these virtual presentations that we're doing, such as the one we're currently on. This is sort of the day in and day out of our current production lifestyle. It's really easy. What we're trying to do is take what is just the traditional Zoom call and make that more engaging. And so with Live Call Connect, we can really quickly take our callers and put them on a branded background. So that's simple. And we can also start to do things like incorporating their presentation and different kinds of looks and feels. I think this is what a lot of people are trying to do today in their virtual meeting rooms when they're going through town halls, when they're going through corporate addresses, and things like this. The conversation we're having today is very much using this platform. And I wanted to highlight, hey, how easy is this with Live Call Connect? All you have to do is have the virtual meeting room installed on either your TC2 or your TC1 Pro. Once you enter that virtual meeting room, you just press the live button. Once you are in the room and the live button's pressed, you have to click one more button, the assign callers to inputs button, and you are done from a production perspective. You have made a simple, easy connection to and from the virtual meeting room. You have your callers into your meeting room platform, and you have audio and video going back to the meeting room platform. Now, of note, that audio is mix minused, or it's without the caller's audio. So the callers aren't going to step on themselves by speaking. And the audio and video paths, I'll showcase this in a few minutes, are actually we actually can control those on the TriCaster. As of today, Live Call Connect supports Microsoft Teams, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, FaceTime, Voov Meeting, Slack, Discord, and Zoom. So that's a lot of different applications that are, these are free applications a lot of your team members are using, a lot of the people you're going to be talking with in these conversations. So this is sort of the language of today, right? Tons of people are doing Zoom calls, team calls, and we've sort of expanded what Live Call Connect's able to do by including things like WhatsApp and FaceTime. So there really isn't a widely dispersed consumer platform that we don't want to allow to work with Live Call Connect. I make a little note here that on the TC1 Pro, you only get 4 guests, and the TC2 Elite, you allow for 9. And sometimes we're actually allowed to use some of the feature sets of those giving meeting room platforms. In a little bit, I'm going to highlight how with Zoom in dual screen mode, we can actually capture the viewer's PowerPoint presentation they may be sharing and do a sort of combination setup where we show the speaker and their PowerPoint simultaneously. So beyond us making this wide purpose, easy to use tool, we do give you some cool flexibility in the presentation. Last but not least, I wanted to add these last 3 points. We're going to use some automation in my presentation. This just allows us to really easily create dynamic looks, and so I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to also highlight the built-in graphics capacities of these systems so that when we're showcasing somebody in the meeting, we can always make sure we title them correctly. And last but not least, I want to showcase, hey, we can utilize the built-in prompter on the TriCaster to really nail these presentations and demos. And If you're interested in anything we have to say, you can always book a demo at www.newtek.com/demo. You can request myself, and actually I can go through this in the specifics of what your exact presentation has. Okay, so that's my PowerPoint presentation. From this point on, I'm going to drive the rest via my system. I'm going to stop my share here for a second. Back over. We do a lot of cool stuff at NewTek with virtual capacity, and as we just showcased, I'm able to do a lot with a remote caller. I'm now going to actually share the screen, and what we're going to do is take a look into my TriCaster, and I'm going to showcase all the cool things I'm doing behind the scenes, where I'm going to actually join a live Zoom call, and I'm going to pull those callers in and then start to enhance that video. So we're going to do one last screen share. And now we see my TriCaster. So right now things are pretty straightforward, nothing too complex is going on. I don't have any other source besides myself on the green screen, so you can see me. What I'm gonna actually do is drive different windows, and I am a little lost here. Okay, there we go. We can make this full screen again. Great. So what I'm going to do is actually come over to one of my TriCaster's other interfaces. And this is going to look very familiar to anyone who's used Windows. This just looks like a traditional Windows desktop. This is actually one of the monitors in the TriCaster. So another one of my monitors that I'm controlling. I'm just going to load up the Zoom application. And I'm going to join a meeting. I'm going to pop back over to a different screen because I'm going to punch in my meeting credentials, and we'll do this live because most of this is behind the scenes. So I'm going to join this meeting. Again, I don't have to be the host. I just have to be able to join a live virtual meeting. And enter my password. For the purposes of our demo, I'm actually going to not join with video. This is because everyone at NewTek actually references the Zoom call when we're doing our workflows. But in general, you would actually bring your video back into the presentation. Okay, so now we have a Zoom call. And if you've joined a Zoom call before, you know you have to join with audio. We had this conversation just 10 seconds ago when I joined the call. So I'm going to join with my audio. I'm going to mute myself again because everyone's on. Beautiful. Now I have all of these callers that I can interact with, right? And this is what most of our presentations look like today, right? We just have a bunch of callers. Another way you guys could tackle these kinds of workflows is by having a lot of computers, each doing screen capture of the Zoom call, and then you can sort of scale each input. So I'm not going to say this is the only way to tackle this, but this is the simplest way with one system to do this workflow. Sharing my screen. Okay, so now at the top of my screen, we see the widget that is Live Call Connect. And just like I said in my presentation before, I'm going to hit the live button, right? You'll notice that there's a little yellow outline that's grabbed this application. And then what I'm going to do is just assign my callers to inputs. That's all the work I need to do to now come back into my TriCaster. And you'll notice that I have these callers as inputs now. Now I can cut to one of these callers as a direct camera, so I could just bring them up in my presentation. Or what I could start to do is really cool things with my mix effects. So I can come over to this pre-done mix effect, and now what I'm doing is a very high level of production. What I've done here is I have all 4 callers independently on a branded background. It's the NewTek background, but I actually have a lot of cool flexibility. We talked about incorporating automation into our show. With my composition engine, I can actually go and change the way this looks visually. So I can move someone out of the screen. I could highlight an individual caller. All of these things can be happening while the show is going on in the background. And so I can bring my caller back in. This is all automation driving our production. And so what we're doing here is taking the traditional Zoom call, we've broken out our callers, and we're actually able to change and make this very visually compelling. So I think this is a really slick feature set. As we talk about other things we can add, let's just say I wanted to highlight this caller, okay? We all want to deal with our graphics workflows in today's day and age, and we want to make sure that we're always giving the right title. What I'm going to do here, and I've just faded on nothing. I have an empty space of graphic. I'm actually going to go into my titler. what I have here with the built-in graphics software, and we're going to load a title up. Let's say we're going to load this one up. We have a pre-built title built into the system. However, I have presets that I can use. With my presets, I can always make sure that I'm adding the right content. So over the course of our meeting, if I know I'm going to have 5 or 6 callers join, I can preload the data into these data presets, save that data, and that way when I bring my graphic up, I'm always going to call back to the right person. So let's say right now this is actually Barbara who's talking with us, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to remove our graphic, which we have cool animations now built into the live graphic system. And so this graphic's going to animate off. Then I'm going to go back up into those preset compositions, and I'm actually going to scale back to our 3 box. Let's just say I want to highlight another caller individually. Now I want to give this caller his appropriate graphic. I can go back in, change the preset, and when I load the graphic up, it's going to have the appropriate data associated with that caller. This really slick and easy workflow is something you can do on the fly. And so I can change these presets. I can go in and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to say this is, actually we have another caller, Austin. And Austin's also a sales engineer. I'm going to save a new preset. I can rename that preset with Austin's information. And now I have multiple presets covering multiple callers. And I did that all when my show started. So even if I didn't know exactly who was going to be on the call, I could go in and go through and change the content of those presets. So this combined with the automation that we're showcasing up front, I think allows for some really slick workflows. And I think you're really going to see a lot of cool benefits when you're combining these two workflows together in terms of getting people into the TriCaster, making a visually compelling presentation, and then being able to add graphics to that. Last but not least, we talked about automation. We also talked about getting a script. Into the TriCaster, we have a built-in teleprompter feature. And that teleprompter feature can be presented to the callers. So if I needed to have a very specific address with particular content, maybe we're talking about pharmaceutical content, or maybe we're getting into the nitty-gritty of, hey, we're going to have a major release for a product, I can have all of those words via a traditional Word document added into the TriCaster and actually be presenting those as an input to the callers. So the callers on the call in the Zoom call could be reading explicitly what they need to read, and I actually have control over the speed of this teleprompter. I can combine that with a jog shuttle control. I was reaching for mine, just out of reach, but I can combine it with a jog shuttle control and actually spin the dial back and forth on that as the presentation goes. So I can always match the speed of my presenter and be giving them back that teleprompter. I think when you combine all of these elements together, you can really see why the TC1 Pro or the TC2 provide this different kind of workflow that's ultra simple. At no point did I have to run multiple computers to grab in my multiple inputs. On my TC1 Pro, you'd have up to 4 callers. So this 4-caller show we'd be able to do. On my TC2 Elite, I'd be able to do 9 different callers. And it's really straightforward to integrate all of these into the workflow, into the TriCaster, into your production. None of what I'm doing is interfering with what I'm going to be recording, what I'm outputting to stream. All of those are separate channels. And actually within my TriCaster, I have full control over what goes back to the Zoom call in this case. So this app return setup here is what I'm sending back to the Zoom call. And it can be any of my mixes with any of my audio setups. In the TriCaster 2 Elite, you have the capacity to do lots of different video mixes and lots of different audio setups. So you can be very particular about what gets sent back to the call. I always like to cover this because we do a lot of very complex demos at NewTek that go into the minutia. And this is like the simplest snapshot of being able to grab callers into your TriCaster, being able to influence how that video content looks, right? I can very quickly go through and say I have 4 callers. Another cool thing I can do is if I wanted to highlight a given caller, and this would be mimicking like if they had their screen being presented. In this case, I'm just using the Zoom window as an example. But you know that larger window could be a PowerPoint presentation. It could be a piece of video content. You could very quickly and dynamically scale and send those things. So you know it really covers the gambit of the different kinds of visual presentation we'd be doing. And I think this is a really powerful tool to have in your arsenal when you're doing corporate presentations, town halls internally, working with different kinds of pharmaceutical companies. These kinds of virtual meeting room addresses are sort of the nature of the world today, and a tool like a TC1 Pro or TriCaster 2 Elite is really going to be helpful. And that's going to be it for
That's
me. I'll
great,
open for
Chris.
Q&A.
That was great. Pretty excellent. Love the new features. All of the integration with web conferencing. I hadn't seen a demo of that yet, and it's pretty incredible. Some questions from the group. Anthony asks, interesting. How do we connect those calls to LCC? So
So all
I think you showed that off with the
Yeah.
Zoom
Yeah.
demo,
So
right?
in the case of a Zoom, any of the applications we have, like let's just say it was FaceTime. In FaceTime, everyone joins a general room.
Yep.
All you have to do is be able to join that room. So you don't actually have to host on the TriCaster. And I think that's a big benefit if you're a production company looking at getting a TC1 Pro or a TC2, where you could just say, hey, this is part of my arsenal. I don't have to host everything. Oh, you guys have this cool platform you want to host on? Let me join that with the TriCaster 1 Pro or the TC2. So the Live Call Connect, you install the application on the TriCaster, so Zoom, Teams, Discord, Slack, what have you, that list I presented earlier. You
Yep.
actually install that on the TriCaster, and one of your other monitors will be that sort of very blank generic template that's called the app desktop. And on the little taskbar, it'll give you all of the applications that would work with Live Call Connect. And one final note is you can actually use Live Call Connect to just grab a web page. So if someone just had like a YouTube channel that they wanted to play and you didn't have a way to like get another computer to run that signal in, you could just load the web page up and grab it with Live Call Connect as well.
Got it. Is Live Call Connect available for TriCaster Mini 4K?
No, so it's exclusive on the 1 Pro and the 2. It is part of the feature sets. There's a couple of more exclusive things that are underneath the hood, but it's sort of, I think for the purposes of what the viewing audience is doing today, it's going to be the biggest feature that you guys are going to be looking for.
I was going to actually ask, is it available on VisVector?
That I actually don't have a good answer for that.
Like, because I'm like all into VisVector right now, which I know,
Sure.
I know where you're in the family, but
Sure.
I didn't think you'd have the answer. But when I
I
was
think
looking
that
at it
I
here,
want
I
to
was
say
like,
it
this
might
is
be.
cool. Yeah, like
It's
it's
very
really
possible
cool.
it is.
Awesome. I'll find out. Can there be more than 2 Zoom screens in the workflow if someone has a Zoom Rooms account to support its additional display routing and control options?
I don't currently Zoom Rooms, as it's a different branch of that Zoom platform, isn't something we support in Live Call Connect. I say currently because we started off with a subset of applications, and last December we dropped a bunch more. We added the WhatsApp, the FaceTime, and the Facebook Messenger. So just like currently today, it's just a traditional Zoom room. So it'd have to be like hosted a traditional setup. But it is entirely possible that we build in for that platform as things excuse me, as things move forward.
Well, and does that to piggyback on, can it be used in Zoom Webinar? I think so because that's a plugin to Zoom meetings, right?
If it might fall into the same right now we're supporting like the base Zoom stuff, so
Yep.
it might be that same concept where today no, but in the very near future yes, it's possible. The other conversation we can have about all this is if we're talking about using like the meetings platform, we could have all of our high level execs who are going to be speaking in a town hall join a traditional Zoom. Because everything we're doing is with NDI, we can then take that feed out via NDI to the Zoom meeting platform. So I could take the output of my TriCaster with a free tool, like I'm doing on this call right now. I'm actually taking the output of my TriCaster and bringing it into this call via our free tool. So I could use that as my sort of two-step where I have my callers, so I can do my records, I can do my mixes, I can have this very dynamic visual presentation on a normal Zoom room, and then feed that content into the meeting platform.
Got it. And the question about Zoom, how do you handle Zoom meetings with more than 9 participants?
It's a very straightforward application in the sense that we sort of make it very widespread. So the 9 callers that are on the main screen with video are the 9 callers we're going to grab on the TC2, or in the case of the TC1, it'll be the 4 callers. The beauty of that is if you know how to admin your Zoom rooms, you can actually set who's going to be on that primary screen, and that would come over to the TriCaster and allow you to grab those for presentation
purposes. So
purposes.
in essence, you have a 1 through 9, and it's whoever you're pinned 1 through 9 is your 1 through 9, and it can dynamically change over the course of the conference.
In the actual nuts and bolts of productions, and this is why a great reason to have book a demo with us. We showed the basics here, but yeah, there's lots of cool things you can do in different platforms. And so what you just described is one of those things where you just have a moderator sitting in the Zoom room like you guys have with us, and there's sort of adminning work. TriCaster grabs the sources it needs, does the production, and this allows you to do some dynamic stuff over the course of like a day-long production, right?
Yep.
So segment 1 could be these 4 people, and then we'll sort of release them. They're going to be in the crowd now, and then we're going to highlight 5 new people. So it really gives you, the cool part is we allow you to use the feature set that's inherent into the Zoom workflow or the Teams workflow. We don't disable any of those features, and we just sort of augment that with what we're doing in Live Call Connect.
Right. You try to implement what you think is most valuable to each platform, right?
Right.
Does the TriCaster work on Macs, or do I need a Windows PC? It's Windows only, right?
Everything we're talking about is all built into the system, so you just need to buy the TriCaster and put monitors. Can you cross over NDI into Mac? Yes, there are Mac-enabled NDI applications, so you could do a hybrid setup. The TriCaster itself is a sort of the hardware and software together. It's not just a software license. So when you're getting the TC1 Pro, you're getting the whole thing.
And that, another kind of outside niche question, will this work outside of TriCaster? You just kind of answered that. Like with systems with TriCaster bones, we have Panasonic HLC 100P, and if not, is there plans to expand to that?
Today, no. The future, unknown.
Tomorrow.
But the truth of the matter is both of these systems that we have running Live Call Connect have been released in the last 2 years. And so the underpinnings of the hardware underneath these guys is fairly advanced. So a lot of the question when it comes to, hey, can Live Call Connect work down the, we sort of built the TC2 Elite as the first guy to make sure it could handle all of this. And then after we had roughly 1.5 years success, 2 years of success with the TC2, we looked at, hey, how do we bring this feature set to the next step in the line, which is the TC1 Pro? So some of this is, there is computation going on in the background to sort of grab these video signals and manage all this stuff. So right now it's exclusive feature set to our system. So tied in with the 1 Pro and the 2 Elite.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I appreciated you mentioning, you're talking to someone who's built 2 Zoom farms, 3 Zoom gardens, a Microsoft Teams walled off garden, you know, like, and that's a lot of CPU on the screen grab issue. And we use NDI, right, for some of those applications where, hey, I'm just taking this out. Microsoft Teams has built in NDI. So there's all these kind of ways, but watching your demo, you know, I was like, man, this is a lot easier than what I'm doing, but clearly there's a lot of processing. Anthony,
so to that point, Corey, before we go forward, and if you've been the engineer behind doing this, and as you have, you know the amount of times of the amount of troubleshooting points you have to go through.
Yep.
It's at least 3 per computer, right? So you're going through, okay, is the computer internet working? Like, can I connect to the call?
Yeah.
Is the software that I'm using to capture, or the hardware I'm using to capture, which probably has software built with it, like, is that working?
Yep.
And then is the cable then going from this device to me working? And I think the simplicity of going, load up the call, click the 2 buttons is just super easy. And what we start to get people doing is building these hybrid setups where they're using the TriCaster to do the meeting, but then in the background, they might have, using an NDI output, hey, I'm going to have this separate room where I might have my traditional, like my producers involved,
Yep.
or the people, if this is a corporate address,
Yeah, I got a
maybe I have
green
all my
room.
corporate
Yep.
sponsors. Yeah, I can start to be real flexible with how I do some of this stuff. So it's a great piece that fits into making some of the tougher parts of these productions a lot simpler. And then you can augment that as we start to expand.
Well, and speaking as, like, you know, a TriCaster, mostly always, I love TriCaster. We operate them for some of our clients that have them in their studios, right? Like, it's part of our workflow. We don't own a lot, but all of my friends and all of my colleagues love the TC1 and the TC2 and like where it's gotten to now, right? And the TriCaster has always been a really good tool for subs, not just primary switching, but like sub switching and doing what you said. A lot of those complicated things where if you can have one operator do that, you save a crap load of time for certain workflows.
Yeah.
Anthony has a question about audio. What about the audio? How is it limited to those 4 people?
So the only audio limitation is the limitation is built into the platform. Today we have to support all the platforms sort of uniformly. So we give them an audio feedback that is assignable and controllable. So it doesn't just have to be my master mix. If I wanted to remove all of the video playback, like if I'm gonna do video playback for commercials or some kind of branded sponsorship thing, I could remove that audio channel going back to the Zoom call, and they would only hear each other. And then if the studio is presenting maybe a host or a guest that's in the actual facility, I can give that audio back. So you have full flexibility within the TriCaster line, 4 different audio channels, so a master and 3 auxes, totally routable as you'd like to going back to the call. This is another one of the major updates we made in December, where we expanded the number of platforms we supported, and we also said, hey, we'll allow you to customize what video and audio you're sending to the application. A lot of this comes from live feedback. When a lot of people got the system in-house, they were trying to do, like, once they had the tool, everyone wants to push it to the next level. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
well, what if I could route this and this together? And so we keep enabling more. And the beauty of what we do at NewTek is that nothing sort of lives static. The TriCaster 2 Elite came out in August 2020, so sort of peak pandemic, or early in the pandemic, really. And we wanted to make this feature set usable. And for 2 years, like, that was the going feature set. And then listening to customers, getting the feedback, we made sure we made the right next steps to say, hey, you guys want to do more? Here's a free update that just gives you a bunch more to be able to tackle with it.
I mean, think about this for 1 second, okay? You're talking to somebody who's been in this industry for over 15 years. 2 years ago, we were using Skype to get into broadcast, people, and now it's like, no, that's not how we're doing this. But that's great. I mean, it's funny because everybody's been going towards this challenge. Anthony's, we got it's Anthony Burgos, and he's a part of the family here, so he's got questions for TriCaster. I mean, the 4 people of the Zoom room that are pinned coming into the TriCaster when he's talking about how it's limited.
Sure, yeah, that's only on the 1 Pro, right? Those are going to be, it's going to grab those 4 people. On the Elite 2, the 2 Elite, it'll give you 9.
I got you. So it's a license.
And the audio is going to be whatever audio coming. Whatever the audio they're presenting is the audio we're going to have coming in. We have an apps slider that just controls the general audio level. However, because this is all voice audio, in the TriCaster 2, we have a neural voice analyzer that will smooth out a lot of what's going on from an audio perspective. So that might also help in your workflows. So there's a lot of like little nitty gritty tools, and Anthony, I definitely recommend reach out because you're a power user. But for the easy purposes is, you click the live button and you have audio going to and from the production. And as we get into nuances, there's a lot of tools underneath the hood on the TC2 and TC1 Pro that make the audio cleaner coming to and fro. Little enhancements we can do, breakouts in audio. They're going to hear all the same audio because today the Zoom platform or the Teams like the way those platforms are designed, it only gives them 1 audio channel. When you're operating as a user in any of these environments, you don't have this cool drop-down menu that says, hey, I want to listen to this stuff.
Yeah.
However, in that same breath, if those platforms expand and that's something that Live Call Connect can interact with, the future is bright. Like if there's radical shifts made in the virtual meeting space, we're going to roll those updates out to this platform.
Yeah, you've built it onto those platforms APIs itself, which, that's the way to do it. So, what is the cost for TC1, TC2? That's my last question.
I don't know how wide-spanning the audience is, so reach out to your local dealer. We're global, so I don't know if we have people outside of the continental states here. But domestically in the States, I think you're looking about 22 for the 1 Pro, 22K, and then 30K for the 2 Elite. Respectively, there's a lot more besides what they do in Live Call Connect.
Of course.
The TC2 Elite is a 32 input system with 4 video playback channels, a very complex audio mixer in terms of audio mixing, the ability to stream 3 different stream outs and record up to 20 channels. And then our 1 Pro is a 16 input channel with 4 outputs, 2 video players, and a lot of those same feature sets underneath the hood as well.
And so VisVector, I love. I know you're not here to demo that, but when do you I got to find out when this is coming, because now that I've seen this, I want that for VisVector.
It's possible it's already on the Vector line. And just for everyone who's in the crowd here who doesn't know, NewTek is part of Viz Group. And in terms of those organizations looking at cloud deployments, they have a really slick system that works in the cloud. So if you're an organization that's looking at scaling up for elasticity, and you really like cloud forward, and there's tons of customers who fall into that space, I think they're towards the higher end of the market, but in general, like, they're out there. If that is something you want to do, definitely get in contact with Viz Group. The guys over on sort of the orange side, we're the blue side of the company. They can give you a more detailed walkthrough, but it's very possible that everything Live Call Connect is on that platform as well. I don't have one to boot it up and be here it is.
I'm not here to put you on the spot. I just that's been the thing, and a lot of kudos from the industry on the TC1, the TC2, where they fit in the space is really good, and this is is really compelling technology. I'm just going to be honest about it. I don't get paid to say that. I've definitely been a NewTek critic over the years. I've used my share of from the SD. I started on a TriCaster SD doing my Cheesehead TV show in 2006, 2007. So yeah, from there on, NewTek and TriCaster has definitely played a really big part in our industry.
I'll earn my stripes here. I started on a 455 back in college.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
And
toaster. That's what
no,
everybody.
no, no.
Everybody's
That's
when I say the SD, everybody goes, "Well, I was on a video toaster."
I think when the toaster came out, I was 7. In my experience, I actually, my path to NewTek is I was doing college sports programs. I sort of graduated into doing a couple of different streaming shows really early on. I got picked up by Surfer Magazine. I did work with the USTA, sort of covering the circuit tour that goes around the country. And very early, I cut my teeth on esports with MLG when they were their own organization. So I've been doing tons of productions. And then sort of my path to NewTek is after being out in the field for a while, eventually they sort of noticed the talent and they said, hey, we'd love you to work for us. So my own experience is very much yours, Corey, of just like, I've been a user. I've gone through different stages. And as a user, like if I could have told myself 10 years ago, or, it's 11, 12 years ago now when I started, hey, this is where this thing is going to go. I think along the lines, like I would have been like so happy and ecstatic. And I think what we've done with the 2 Elite and the 1 Pro platform is kind of like a love letter to long standing customers. A lot of the feature sets that we've enabled is from both where we want to see the industry going with things like Live Call Connect, but are also very real to what our needs were in the field. And I think we see that sort of merger happen with this product line. It's a very mature product line at this point where the gripes are now, and in general, is what you were saying. Can we do more? Like, what if we can do 2 calling apps at the same time?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to sort of push that limit, and we'd love to hear that feedback because that allows us to both know that we're going in the right direction and continue to implement and integrate on as we move forward.
Pat Chamberlain wins the NewTek University course NewTek Certified Operator Package valued at $3,000. Want to give a congratulations to Pat Chamberlain. Streaming Media is going to be emailing you. As soon as I brought up the oldsters talking about the video toaster, the chat just blows up. You know that's going to happen. They got Amigas in. I don't even want to talk about it because that's always what happens. As soon as I say that happens. So that's awesome. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate everything you guys are doing at NewTek, and thanks and have a great weekend.
You too, man.